Good morning students, welcome back to Gopikrishna online classes. Yesterday we discussed about some of the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Okay, so there we discussed about physical state of metals and non-metals, malleability, ductility, conductivity, sonorous, lustrous property, hardness. Okay, so like that we discussed some physical properties of metals and non-metals. Okay, so here difference between metals and non-metals based on the physical properties. I am going to explain about differences between metals and non-metals. Okay, first coming to that metals. So based on these differences are based upon the physical properties. Okay, so the first one, metals are malleable. Metals are malleable. Okay, so coming to the non-metals, non-metals are non-malleable. So metals are malleable, non-metals are non-malleable. Okay, so here yesterday I explained what is mean by malleable. If a material can be drawn into a thin sheet, that property is called as malleable. So metals having this property of malleability, you can take example of aluminium, silver. Okay, aluminium foils we are using, silver we are using for decoration of sweet items, sweet food. Okay, so most metals are malleable in nature. Non-metals are non-malleable in nature. We can't make any sheets with the help of a non-metals. Yes or no? Here next coming to the second property, they are ductile. Here what is mean of ductile? Non-metals are not ductile. That ductility means here if a material can be drawn into a very thin vise is called as ductility. Most of the metals are ductile, non-metals are not ductile. Example, if you take the examples of ductile metals, you can take aluminium wires are there, thin wires. Okay, silver, gold, we can make. Most of the metals are ductile in nature, non-metals are not ductile in nature. Next coming to the third property, they are good conductors of heat and electricity. Okay, so they are conductors. What is the meaning of conductors? The material which can allow, okay, or to allow to pass electricity or heat, okay, is called as conductors. Metals are good conductors, means they can allow heat and electricity to flow from one place to the another place. This property is called as conductivity. Metals are conductors, good conductors. Coming to the non-metals, they are bad conductors of heat and electricity. They are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Okay, so coming to the next property, they have lustrous nature, means shine. This property is shining property. Metals, most of the metals are lustrous in nature. They will shine because of this nature only. We are using as jewelry items, some decorative item, decorative materials. Okay, like that we are using these metals only. Okay, next, non-metals do not luster. Okay, next coming to that fifth property, they are solids. Okay, they are solids at room temperature. Most of the metals are solid at room temperature except that mercury, gallium. Okay, so at room temperature they are in the liquid state, solid, they are in the liquid state, but most of the metals are solid state at room temperature. Coming to the non-metals, they are generally solids and gases. Okay, if you take that solids and gases example, okay, so phosphorus, sulfur, we can take example of these solids, gases, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, helium, argon, non-metals. These are all the non-metals which are in gaseous state. At room temperature, they are generally, non-metals are generally solids and gases at room temperature. Next coming to that, they have high melting and boiling points. Okay, if solid is converting into a liquid, we are considered as a melting point. Boiling point means a liquid has to convert into a gaseous form, the temperature note down as a boiling point. Okay, so they have high melting points and boiling points. And coming to that non-metal, they have low melting and boiling points. Come to that next property, they are hard, very hard, except sodium and potassium. Okay, so this sodium and potassium very soft metals. We can cut with a knife, that much soft metals. These two metals are very soft metals, but remaining all metals are hard. Okay, next coming to that non-metals, most of the non-metals are soft except diamond. So diamond is a non-metal, yes or no? Okay, this diamond is very hard non-metal, but remaining non-metals are soft in nature. Next, the last property, they are sonorous. They will produce sound when we hit with a hammer. Metals produce sound. Okay, so if you take that ringing bells made with metals, yes or no? So they will produce some amount of sound. That property is called as sonorous. Okay, next coming to that non-metals, in these non-metals they are non-sonorous. They will not produce any sound. These are the certain differences between metals and non-metals based upon their physical properties. Okay. So coming to the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. All metals do not react same chemical properties, they do not have same chemical properties, okay, with air, water, okay, oxygen. If these metals are reacting with this, they do not have that same properties. For example, if you take sodium, sodium immediately will react with water, so it produces heat energy. Okay, but if you take iron, iron will not react with the cold water immediately. Immediate reaction will not happen with iron when compared with the sodium. So when both are metals only, sodium also metal only, take sodium also metal only, iron also metal only. Okay, but this sodium will react immediately. Okay, but iron do not react immediately with cold water. Okay, so because here difference what, even though both are the metals, they are not showing same properties, because this sodium is more reactive element, when compared with iron. Like that, all metals are not having same chemical properties. Based upon their reactivity, these metals are giving the products. Okay, so first reaction with oxygen. So in this first what we have to consider, reaction with oxygen. Okay, so in this reaction of metals with oxygen, first let us discuss with about metals, how metals are reacting with oxygen. Okay, so in this generally this equation we have to learn that metals when react with oxygen, they giving the product metal oxide. Okay, so general equation of metal reaction with oxygen, when metals are reacting with oxygen, they produce they gives as a product of metal oxide. Okay, so for example, you can take this example. First you take that sodium and potassium also. These are very soft metals. Okay, so but their reactivity is more for these metals. They will react immediately without any heat. Just if you take a small pinch of sodium, when you drop one drop of water on this also, immediately it will catch as fire, it burns, it produces that sodium oxide. Okay, means here reactivity of this sodium and potassium is more. If you keep in the atmosphere open if you keep also, what will happen in our nature? In atmosphere, water vapor is there, okay, oxygen is there. So in presence of that, immediately that sodium will catches that fire. Okay, sodium and potassium, these both are very reactive metals. So in presence of atmospheric water vapor and air, it catches the fire easily. So we will store this sodium and potassium in kerosene containers. Okay, we should not keep outside. In kerosene only we need to keep that, so that we can store sodium and potassium for few days. Okay, so this more reactive element. So because of that, there is no need of any external temperature for this sodium to react with oxygen to give the product. Next, coming to that magnesium. Okay, so this magnesium will react with oxygen when we heat it. Understand to you? So without any heat, it will catches the fire easily. So it will give that product as sodium oxide. But when you take that magnesium when react with oxygen, we need to give temperature, heat energy. We need to heat it. Okay, we need to give the external flame for that, so that it forms a product of magnesium oxide. Next, coming to that zinc. Okay, so zinc react only with oxygen, but this is also strong heating. We need to do that strong heating. We need to do that strong heating for this, so that it forms that product of zinc oxide. Okay, so here what we have to understand, even metals. Okay, so these metals also showing different reactivity. Yes or no? Reactivity of metals are different. Okay, do you understand? Do you this? Okay. Metal oxides are basic in nature. Okay, we can take that example of sodium oxide. When it is reacting with water, it forms as a product sodium hydroxide. So OH group is there. OH group means which nature will be for this? Basic nature. It turns red litmus into blue color. Red litmus turns into blue color. Okay, acidic properties, basic properties in 7th class we studied. Okay, so metal oxides, when reacting with water, it produces a basic components, that sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. Okay, potassium oxide is reacting with water, it produces that potassium hydroxide. So from this what we can say, metal oxides are basic in nature. Metal oxides are basic in nature. Coming to the another example of iron. Okay, so when iron is reacting with oxygen, it forms iron oxide. This example is the formation of rust. Rust formation, yes or no? When iron is exposing more to the atmosphere, means the iron which is there in atmosphere, water vapor is there, oxygen is there. Presence of these two, iron will get rust, yes or no? So for this is the chemical reaction. 4Fe, iron plus 3O2 gives rise to 2Fe2O3, iron oxide. This iron oxide, when react with the moisture, water, it produces that rust. Formula of rust, Fe2O3 NH2O. Rust chemical formula. Formation of this rust chemical formula. Okay, so all the metals will get rust in presence of atmospheric air and water. Means if you take the silver also will get tarnished, because when it react with the sulfur. Okay, so react with the sulfur, so their silver will get tarnished. Coming to that gold. Okay, so it will not get any rust like platinum. Okay, they will not get any rust. Coming to that copper. Copper also, when it is reacting with oxygen and carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere and the water vapor which is present in the atmosphere, when it react with this and it forms like basic copper carbonates. Okay. So these are the certain chemical reactions of metals with oxygen. Okay. Finally, what we need to conclude here? Reaction of metals with oxygen, so they will produce that metal oxides. When these metal oxides are reacting with water, they produce that hydroxide. Hydroxides are basic in nature, so this hydroxides turns the red litmus into blue color. Okay, so some exceptional cases are there like silver, iron, copper, gold. So based on the reactivity, okay, they will give the products. Here we need to understand that even metals are one group, these all metals are not having same chemical properties also. Okay, so based upon the reactivity, how means in reactivity series we can understand this. So next class I will discuss with you about reactivity series. Okay, so in this what we have to understand, all the metals are not having the same chemical properties. Based upon their reactivity, some elements will react very fastly, some metals react at certain conditions. Okay, so this is about reaction of metals with oxygen. You have to understand that formation of rust, tarnishing of copper, silver tarnishing. Okay, so how the oxides will convert into the hydroxides. Okay, what is the nature of this sodium hydroxide? This all you have to learn from this session. Okay, thank you. I will continue in the next class.